Hey there! Yes, your click was absolutely correct, because in today's video we are going to build a beautiful night house for some nocturnal animals, which animals we're going to talk about in a second. The last time I built a night house is actually over 4 years ago, still in Yosemite, and so this time the approach is a little bit of a different one. Let me explain. So first things first, we do have the walkthrough exhibits by now with two bat type animals that we are going to use both. Technically we could have also used the sloth as well, because it is somehow of a night animal too, but I wanted to go for a different way. So what we're gonna have, we have the fruit glider, and we also have obviously the bat. But let's not talk too much about the animals as of now. Let's talk about the build, because this video is going to be separated in a little bit of a step-by-step build, and then we're going to have our typical kind of animation that goes along with all my realistic builds. This time around we have somehow like a 3D printed animation, I should call it, whatever, and then we have a real-time part. So the first part of today's video is putting down the general layout. You know that I like to block my builds first of all, and just to see where things go, and once that is done, from there I can actually start shaping the thing. So you can see I'm using the plaster walls here to look where things go. When I've done this, we are skipping over to actually doing the design, and I like to work in modules, and this module over here is going to be our wall piece. One thing that I had in mind from the very beginning, and hopefully this is also why you clicked on the thumbnail in the first place, was the exterior being a little bit layered, so that we have like a lower area to go in and a bit of a higher area of the building in the background, just to give the whole building a little bit of an interesting appeal, to make it look just a bit more interesting, and also to provide it with some depth to it. So that is something I always have in mind, and this time around I wanted to add a little bit of realism in that sense, that I'm going to put some gutters in and some drainage that just provides our roof with some drainage in the first place, that makes sure we have not too much water on the roofs, specifically in temperate regions with climate change. Heavy rain is becoming more and more of an issue. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about, because here at home I have the same problem on my garage. We bought this house last year only, but as it appears to have all the heavy rain now, that wasn't the case in the past. The roof of the garage may actually not be stable enough, so we may actually have to do this again, which is unfortunate, because typically that's not something you are going to look at while you purchase a building when stuff has been fine for 40 years. But well, climate change hasn't been the same 40 years ago, thanks humanity, but so we had to reinforce it and build some new drainage, which we have already done, and well, hopefully that's enough, but maybe we also have to completely redo the roof and change the tilt, make the tilt even more heavy, to ensure that the water is going away even quicker. So I wanted to incorporate something like that in here too. You can see a bit of a bigger step forward. As I was finishing with the walls and with the modules, I already put a lot of full rocks in here. I actually spared this out of the video because it was horrendous to follow with the camera. I actually had a little bit of a voiceover for that ready already, but when I was looking back at the video, it was barely even watchable, because the camera movement was super insane. The main reason for that is I'm working in a rather tight space, and let me just precise that a little, because it is not that tight. You will see that in the real-time part later. It feels very spacious, but it isn't. And the reason for that is, well, the magic word is traversable area. Now, as I've done all the fences here for the pathways, I already started to lay down some of the facilities inside, and you can see I'm also putting down some benches, hiding them underneath some concrete blocks, and you can see already that the two entrances here with these kind of PVC panels where people go through, don't worry, they'll be away later on. They were just still there to give me an idea where they are, and then I started already to put down some enrichment items, and this is a habitat for the raccoon, by the way, so maybe that's the perfect timing to quickly talk about the animals, so you know better what I was talking about with the traversable area. Now, we do have the raccoons, we have the porcupine, we also have the aardvark, we have the caiman and the two bat types, and we also have some exhibit animals that you'll see in the background right now, but you'll see that later. Also, I wanted to make this kind of custom broken down log that can be put down over here. Unfortunately, the animals cannot use it. It still is not big enough, but I didn't want to make it even bigger because it was already pretty damn big. And I figured, you know what, just leave it there as like a nice element, design element, I don't know. However, and this is what I wanted to get at, is the traversable area is obviously in this game sometimes horrendous. And I knew when I was going for these types of animals who cannot really climb or jump high or whatnot, which, by the way, is exactly why I chose them. But it also provides me with the issue to make them actually walk through. I needed to ensure that they have enough space. And this is why I am saying that I'm working on a tight space, because regarding the traversable area of the animals and make it still usable, it is a tight space. But in total, like in absolute, if you look at it realistically, it's definitely not a tight space. It's a very spacious indoor area, but I'm still very happy with how it turned out. Also, one thing I wanted to really ensure this time around was that the ceiling receives a special treatment. This is something I completely neglected last time in my last night house. I redid a couple of things later with some mist effects and so on, but I tried to do something different this time around. I remember in the Yosemite night house, I kind of tried to mimic a night sky, which honestly turned out pretty nice, but this time I wanted to make it more like a real night house with some diffused lights and so on, and so I decided to go for this kind of panel over here, and you'll see that I'm adding some simple art shapes over here, which will act like a sound barrier, because this is something realistically you will have a night house like that. To make it really feel at night, you need a different type of sound. You know, at night things are more clear to hear because it's actually more quiet, and to ensure that it is more quiet, and also to ensure that when it's raining outside you don't have the rain pouring down, or when it's loud outside, we have to have these panels. And so I decided to go for these sound panels, or I should say these noise cancellation panels. How do you say that in English? I've no idea. I even have them hanging on my wall over here to make the sound quality of my voice a lot better, which I figure it is. It's much better than it used to be in the past. And so I embedded them into the build, and you can see that I have a little bit of a skip here and there in the video. This is because I want to make sure that the tour at the end for you guys is necessary to be watched, because you have to watch it to see it in its full glory, you know. Just a little trick to keep you here. But anyways, you can just watch the video fully and we are all happy. And if you do, and you're still with me, even 7.5 minutes into the video, why don't you consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already? It still drives me crazy that over 50% of the returning viewership is non-subscribers. That is insane. So you guys, I see you on the computer, on the Xbox, on the TV, on the mobile phone, whoever, wherever you are not subscribed to the channel, but you're watching a video from me for like the 8th time. Hey, that's the moment where you hit the subscribe button, because that's gonna make me happy, my animals happy, and helps me to eventually reach this 100K at some point in my life. I don't know, but yeah. So back to the build. You can see at this point I started to really make this whole thing feel a lot more alive, and I was building a lot more of the details in here already relatively early on, to be honest, with this build, but it was necessary to really get the design down. And honestly, this build is very different to the last ones I've done in that sense that I'm using a lot less detailing. Why is that a thing? Well, to be honest, when you look at these houses, and I checked a lot of images yet again on ZooChat and so on, there are two patterns. Like, the first pattern is going for a tropical vibe, and those things are most likely super overgrown and like super clumsy and super dense when it comes to the night appeal, and you barely can see anything, and everything is like super lush. And that's the trick about this, you know. By it being lush, you can cover a lot of the things necessary, like the mist effect thingies and the heaters and stuff like that. But I was going for a temperate, and this is maybe the special thing about this night house. This is a temperate focused night house, even though the Cayman necessarily doesn't fit super well in, but hey. And so I opted for a temperate style, and this is exactly why I wanted to have the whole house a little bit more clean. I wanted to have it more on the clean side, and honestly, this looks freaking good. I have so many things I did lately that were super detailed. Like, I'm not sure if it's true, but I could imagine that the pond we did last time in this park has more pieces than at least the inside detailing of this house over here. Simply because I just completely went nuts there with the detailing, and I just wanted to keep it relatively lush in here, which at the end of the day worked out super well, and I'm more than happy how this turned out. I just generally am super happy with the whole appeal. At some point, I did this nasty mistake to open or to hit play just to see a couple of things with some VFX I was testing, and then all the people stormed in. So in case you're seeing like a bajillion people in here, it is still this magic trick in this game. Whenever you open something new, like the entire zoo is storming there, which yeah, is exhausting at some point. However, as you can tell, this build over here is turning out to be looking a lot better now. It's also still mad that I'm saying it's less detailed than usual, and you see me putting down pieces for almost 2 or 3 minutes, sped up 10 times or so. That is odd, but hey, that's me, I guess. Just my level of detailing is still a high level of detailing, I guess, even when I say it's not. Yeah, but I mean, the entire build over here is becoming more of a thing now in terms of shaping together. Like, it is a build that took me over 3 weeks in total to complete. I was already building on it while I was starting with the pond, trying different things and so on. And I just jumped in and out of this build for a couple of times because I had not a block in that sense that I didn't want to continue. It was a bit of, I needed to find the right inspiration for certain parts later on with the inside detailing. It all looks so much out of one idea and one coherent build process, but it totally wasn't. Specifically the outside of the building, which you'll see at the end of today's time-lapse, had me really struggle for a lot. I redid this like 2 or 3 times. And when I was looking for the old thumbnail of the Yosemite Valley Night House, I was looking at the entrance and I was like, hey, that looks actually even better than mine does now. And so I was like, how can that be possible? But then I figured that obviously the style I was going for is so different. And this is mainly the reason why you can't really compare those 2 entrances. But let me just talk about this while we have it on screen now. So, like a little cut, and here we are with the entrance. As I said, this was already the, I think, 3rd attempt I was then finally going for. And I was going for like a very simplistic entrance. I wanted to have it very like subtle next to the pathway, but I wanted to have some style elements in that I usually don't do. And as you can see, I was doing these kind of neon tubes over here as like some light tubes, and then I wanted to also have some wall designs in the background to just make it look a bit more interesting. And when I was doing this, I was figuring, oh wait, that just doesn't work because I can't do this on both sides. As you can see, I was kind of happy with it, and then I figured, oh my god, that just kind of looks odd. And so I decided at the end to go with some very big kind of plaster blocks, and honestly this looked kind of cool, so I kept the idea of it and I just went on with these like huge blocks in the background. And as you can see, I was also trying to make sure that from the inside it all looks good, just to make these things. And I just figured that like move them into the inside, it just oddly looked good, and so I kept it the way it was. And then I just started to make sure that the entrance has like a little bit of an airlock, because this time around the airlock, obviously, realistically, the bats and so on otherwise could easily fly out, and we don't want that. But also in terms of noise cancellation and light sources, we needed to ensure that there is like an airlock style thing. Then I ensured that we also have the backstage access nicely covered, and started to do a little bit of the front like the front planter. But before I did so, I was like, okay, I need to close off the roof now, and I went on with some very simple metal pieces that I felt like looked really good on this build specifically. They just kind of have the feeling of a pretty normal roof, and so I was happy. And yeah, as I said, then I started to make sure that we have the plant area look good. I went on with some, I figured it's like plaster pieces or limestone, these like little limestone trims over here. I like them a lot because they were a little bit thinner than usual, so we do not really have that huge of a curb, or not the stones like usually, but I just wanted to have something more subtle and nice looking. And then this is my favorite piece of the entire build. This is our little moon. That's kind of, I wanted to have a little bit of a design element to it rather than a big wording or so, and so I ended up with this wonderful moon design. that just really popped to my head, and I wanted to do this. There is something I want to have in my room too. It's like a very cool idea of having a sunken down concrete wall that looks like the surface of the moon, and then you put like an LED around this sunken hole, and so the LED then is on a very low range and has like a very low lighting, and then the moon really looks like lit from the outside. That's a pretty cool design I want to have in my streaming room over here, and I felt inspired by that, and so I created this little light element, and also ensured that the moon looks a little bit more 3D by having this black kind of bar to the side. I think it looks fine, but hey, this is almost it with the time lapse, and here you have the wonderful animation of the whole thing being almost like printed. As you can see, it looks almost like the nozzle of the printer goes forth and back here. That was kind of the idea, so forth and back, forth and back, forth and back, and then the build is done. So we see each other now in the real-time part. Can't wait to show this to you. Alright, so we are in front of the night house, which is actually called Animaux de la Lune, or Les Animaux de la Lune, I should say. I thought it was finally time to go for a different language. Like, I see all the night houses, and I also did it myself, you know. It's either called Nocturnal House, or like Animals of the Night, or Night House, or whatever. And I thought, you know what, I go for Les Animaux de la Lune. I don't know, I think it just sounds cool and it looks cool, and I am very proud of this little logo kind of appeal over here. And this is the moon in the back, and as I said. And just to enjoy that, we are going to go all the way to, I don't know what time it is. I remember that somehow, what was that? This is the darkest time of the day. I don't know which exactly it was. But yeah, you can see this is where the moon looks kind of cool. Like, it's not perfect, you know, I could have done this even more perfect, but yeah, FPS wise this park is going to suffer already a little. But look at the lighting. I just really like how the lighting works. By the way, before we go in, I just wanted to show you, this is not fully done, but there's also like an outside pen for the raccoons. They can actually go outside too, which I figure is kind of cool. But yeah, let's go in. Oh, look at the moon. It just looks so slick and modern. I like it. There's a little pond over here. It's just like a little connection. It's nothing to really look at. I just wanted to ensure that we have something in the front. But now as we go in, boom, look at that. And also, can you hear it? Can you hear how the sound is muffled? I will try to really lower down the volume of the music so you can hear it. And this is what I meant with the inside. I don't know, I just wanted to cover it up, but then I felt, you know, it just kind of looks interesting here with the wall inside, so I kind of left it. But yeah, we're going in, and there you can see, like, the first area already greets you with like all these lampposts hanging down here. And I feel like also these lamp designs kind of tie into the idea of the night house with the you know, with the beds and so on hanging down from the ceiling. It doesn't feel unnatural, and this is something I needed to ensure somehow. And yeah, you can see the bats flying around. And even if you look in the background, there are some more animals flying around, which is exactly the idea. And let's see if we can actually find some of the raccoons coming around. They can only switch the side with this climbing rig over here, which I feel always like is a fun thing to do. So do you have some interaction with them? But maybe they're outside, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just gonna figure, like, this is where they can go outside. This is kind of nice. And then you can also hear all the squeaking and creaking. Is there someone in here? They can also climb on the tree if they want to. And just for you, if you want to build something like that, the pieces inside of these walkthrough exhibits, they don't have a collision for the animals that you have moving around. So if you build a habitat around this, the raccoons can actually just clip through these things. So it's always better to put some other things in here if you don't want to have this clipping. But in general, it kind of works. Oh, look at that. It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah. Then if we go further, there is still a little bit of a part of the habitat. You can see them. And as I said, we have some exhibits, and if you have a look in here, you can see there's the Herman's tortoise, which I was told is also kind of a night animal. Then we have the scorpion, the desert scorpion being one. And then in here, we have, I'm not even sure what we have in here. I think it was it a snake? I totally forgot which animal is in here. But it's dark and we can't really see it. So anyways, yeah, if we go further, we have some more bats flying around. And then we also have the porcupine roaming in their habitat. And as you can see, this is not really lush, but again, that was the idea about this build. It's not meant to be super lush and so on. I just wanted to give them the the space they deserve, and they can actually pass over. So you can see there is like a little gap over here, and there is a gap for the porcupine to walk over if they fancy doing so. But most of the times they just want to hide away, which is kind of a little bit dangerous for the people, not gonna lie. So I wish to have like a little tunnel dug below the path, but I just couldn't do it with the space available. So at the end of the day, it would have been better to just fence that off and keep the habitat to this side, which eventually I will do, and then just put some random like plants and so on in the middle here. Realistically, that would be the better way to do it, and since that's the focus of this park, I will most likely finish this off. Yeah, as I said, this build took me so long, I just needed to show that to you right now, and maybe you guys have some ideas in the comments to incorporate in here. So if we go further, you can also have a look down here. Very simplistic. So again, there's nothing really to focus on because mostly the people don't go here, they just look to the other side. This is where the artwork goes, and simply because the artwork is such a shy animal, I decided to ensure that they don't have a direct fence to the people. And down here, this is also the caimans area, so sometimes you can see a caiman down here, and I figured it's like, unfortunately it's not a part of the game, but in reality, the caiman's eyes do glow in the dark somehow if you put some light sources on them. So that was the idea, that you have some of these headlights, and if you look through them, you can see these glowing lights appear there. And if you look down, you can see this is where the wall is, and technically, if you look down, you can see some of the artworks roaming around. And now if we go further, this is again a little bit of a nice build in general, everything enclosed, so I don't want people to see too much from over here. I want them to go down, because from over here you have like a little bit of a nice view inside this water area. There you can see Pika came through. Look at that. But if you want to see it a bit more up close, you can just go all the way down and look at that. Boom, you are greeted with this view. Look, there is this one in the water. Oh, it's so cool. I just love that. Where's the other one? Can we spot it? Not really though. Is it somewhere over here on the other side? Let's have a look if it's here. It's not here. It's not here. And somewhere in here, these please shut the F up signs are hidden in the walls too, but it seems like the people don't really care about this. So yeah, this is the night house from all its angles. And if we go out of this camera, I can show this a little bit more from the inside in its full glory. And I really like how the space at the end turned out. Also, by the way, I forgot to tuck these things on. They're basically hovering now. Well, you just have to imagine that they are connected with some ropes. I had this planned with like some not ropes, but I had some chain link thingies planned. But whatever. Yeah, but if you have a look, like, I mean, just have a look how it all came together. I am a big fan of this view over here. I'm a big fan. Let's quickly take a screenshot of this one, because it just kind of looks cool from over here. Really big fan of this angle. Really big fan. So, yeah, I mean, this is it. Let's actually go outside and have a look for how it looks at night from the outside. There you go. Yeah, that's the build. We can also go back to daytime real quick. There we have it. And yeah, I'm very happy with how it turned out. Like, a couple of things have to be done, like the backstage isn't fully done yet, and I have to keep on going here a bit, and some little things internally have to be filled. But just to give you a bit of context where it is, it sits all the way here to the left hand side. And as I said, the zoo is starting to become a little bit laggy, so not like super laggy, but a little bit laggy. So the next build may actually be focused a bit more on nature rather than on such a heavy space, because these spaces that are so tight, like as we have over here with the reptile house, which is ginormous, and then this space again over here, which has so many pieces on a small amount of space, is always a bit of a heavy thing for the computer to deal with, and maybe I have to just do something else. But I am still very, very happy with how it turned out, and now it's your turn to tell me how you like it and what we should do next in the realistic habitat area. The new DLC obviously isn't the bestest for this build, so I may actually do a little bit of a break on the realistic zoo and go into some other parks, and we will also have a comeback. We will have a comeback park. I'm not going to talk too much about this, but you'll see that very early on this channel soon. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's little night house episode. If you did, as always, consider subscribing. That helps me out growing and telling YouTube that you like the content. And as always, if you like the content, there are more ways to support me. People always ask for it, so I'm here to answer. One of the things you can do is just simply go to Instant Gaming via the link in my description and grab any game or update or DLC you want. From this link, you help me directly, so that would be lovely. Or you can become a member of this channel as well, but you don't need to, okay? Just simply liking the video or leave a comment or just subscribe is perfectly fine. And now I wish you guys a wonderful weekend, a wonderful update DLC week next week. And on Monday evening, we are going to stream some Planet Zoo, so if you want to catch me live on Twitch, you should do so, and just click the link in the description to make sure you follow me on Twitch as well to be notified whenever I go live. And now let's have a final look at the night house before we sign off. It looks so good. Anyways, have a good one. Goodbye.